All right, welcome back to another episode of the Black Bullion Show for goldandsilvertoday.com. Guess who's back, guys? Oh yeah, it is the VIX. That is VIX, also known as the Volatility Index, also sometimes known as the Fear Index. Now, similar to yesterday, gold and silver, we started out moving upwards in the early morning hours. And then, as the pre-market, started to end, things went south for bullion. Now, hey, it wasn't like we left, anyone else out the fun either. It wasn't just us. It was also major U.S. stock indexes. They started to move south, kind of led the way by, or kind of being led by the tech industry as well. Some of that downward momentum. Now, I will say, yesterday, I did place a trade on VIX futures, a VIX futures index, as I've been saying that I was going to be doing during this period before the election, as everything, is pretty much coming down. My VIX futures play was going up today, and I'm actually probably going to sell pretty soon since I basically hit my goal with it. Now, what's the point of me playing volatility here? Well, it's a way for me to raise more cash so that I can add to my dry powder fiat once silver prices really take a nosedive. And I think that's probably going to happen, maybe around the election time. But that's just my opinion. But guys, what I really found interesting about today's moves was the fact that we got some really great U.S. economic data that kind of flies in the face of my original hypothesis linking rising Roni's cases with the services sector. So actually, let's get into that right now. Now, I was surprised to find out that both the manufacturing and services sectors performed as well as they did in October. As you can see here, U.S. businesses expand in October at fastest pace in 20 months, which is pretty wild. Yeah, I was surprised to see that. And, I have to put my, as cases rise, services will fall hypothesis on notice until I see otherwise here. But the interesting thing is that when we got that news around 9:45 a.m., that barely moved the needle for equities as they really were committed to this downward trajectory today. I mean, we got that around 9:45. We had a little bump here and then just continued to come down. So it barely did anything. So you can just tell here that, the overall market had a mission today, and the mission was to sell, as you can see. And one of the reasons why all that selling was happening was because of this. Again, this also doesn't just include equities. It includes bullion as well. But pretty much, traders and institutions have basically been calling politicians bluffs on this stimulus bill. Here's another reason, for that. Let's take a look at the U.S. 10-year here. I think this is the 1 day. Here's the 1 day. And as you can see here, the U.S. 10-year Treasury note yield has been trending down. Now, one of the reasons why I like looking at this is because it provides confirmation to my analysis of analyzing market sentiment. So I'm saying that, hey, it looks like the sentiment has changed from being risk on to risk off. People are selling, VIX is rising. And here you have the U.S. 10-year Treasury note yield coming down from where it was at 0.86 to it looks like it was down to 0.83. It's rising up a little bit again. So we're starting to see some midday, risk on activity here starting to trend back up. But generally, it was going down today. So you're starting to see a little bit of a change in sentiment here. And I just really don't see, a stimulus bill being passed before the election, before the election occurs. So that's just, something that I would expect to continue seeing in the near future, especially as we approach election day. Right now, it's October 23rd. We're just a handful of days away. Now, as far as gold and silver prices are concerned today, I do have to give them a pretty good standing ovation, especially when you consider how they've been compared with the U.S. 10-year Treasury note in its performance this week. If you think about it, the U.S. 10-year Treasury note, I can't remember the last time that I saw it being at 0.8%, as far as a yield is concerned. It's been a long time. And in the face of that, we've had gold and silver performing extremely well this week. Gold got up to 1930, silver got above $25, and gold broke above its 50-day moving average. Of course, we came back down in price, but in the face of a really rising U.S. 10-year, gold and silver prices performed really well. Of course, that also was supported by a DXY that was lower this week. We did have a DXY that got back into the 92s, so that is something to take note of. In addition to this, but let's take a look at what happened today. In the beginning of the day, prices were swinging up, kind of similar to what happened yesterday again, and then after the opening bell, things start to come down. We're starting to see a rebound again. This is starting to track the trading behavior of what's happening with overall markets. I'm not comparing gold and silver with equities at all. What I'm saying is that overall institutions are making these large moves today. And gold and silver is along for the ride via their ETFs. And again, we've seen articles here on this channel that I presented showing that GLD is one of the main drivers for price action for gold prices, for gold spot prices. And I can assume that the same thing might be true, or maybe it's almost true for silver, with silver ETFs as well. It's been moving in a similar way as gold has. So ETFs have to be playing a huge role for silver as well. But generally today, I have to say that gold and silver have basically been, range bound as they have been in previous days. I mean, we can go down here, and as you can see, here's gold going back into late September. It's just been kind of trading this type pattern, has been trending up. We've got silver here doing the same exact thing. Let's take a look at the gold to silver ratio. Gold to silver ratio has been trending down, and which is pretty interesting to see, because a couple of days ago, gold and silver, had that, nice move to the upside, but still we're starting to see gold and silver, the gold to silver ratio, or I should say silver to gold ratio, keeping its downward trajectory. So that's really cool to see. All right, guys, let me know what you think about today's moves. Thanks again for watching. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe if you're new. It's Black Bullion for goldandsilvertoday.com.